Hey, my friend. So something that came up from a question was why? Why stimulate the pineal gland? And so I'm going to share a little bit of my experience and then um, try to drop some breadcrumbs on the trail as to why. So, like most things, the actual participation in it or the actual event is much different than the perception of it before it happens. Just like having a food that you've never had before, you might taste something and think, well, that's awesome, or you might get a bite of it and go, that's disgusting, I don't want to ever try that again. And so, stimulation of the pineal gland is just the same thing. And there might be parts, and for me, there was a lot of parts where I didn't want to have that flavor again. It was a pretty deep process. So, anyhow, but why do that? Why go through that? And why would somebody like Dr. Joe encourage it? Why is it important? So it seems to me that there is a relative high number of people who are doing meditation and things that have had mystical experience or something that's out of the ordinary. And so, and that one experience can sometimes influence their entire life. And like a near-death experience would be an example of that, or something way out, and it just creates a crystallized moment in the brain, and that single experience then influences the future. They're a changed person. So that's one possibility. But another possibility is that through this mechanical effort of the body, as Dr. Joe and a lot of yoga teachers would say, the body is a vehicle of consciousness. Through this, and if we stimulate it intentionally on purpose using our bodies, then what we're doing is creating the neurochemistry for that mystical experience. And we do it over and over and over again. And so through enough effort and enough time, if we create that neurochemistry, what can happen is that the brain becomes, it grows those new neural pathways, like they say in neuroplasticity, kind of pruning the old stuff falls away, and then there's these new connections, these new neural pathways. Well, because we're stimulating the pineal gland and it has these this cascade of neurochemistry, which is very powerful, my experience has been that it globally resets the brain, and so that the entire perception of reality is changed, so that there is almost like a stop and start point. But it didn't, in some cases, for me, it happened so instantly, and I can look back and go, in an instant, at this one defining moment, I was aware that I was forever changed. However, after that, there was many months, 9 months of what we would call like a purging process, a very sincere, deep process. And so that was the brain restructuring around this experience. The brain is a self-adaptive system, so that if we drop an experience into the brain and it's powerful enough, then all those neurons kind of grow around it. It's like planting a seed, and then all the neurons grow around it in that new way. So why is that important? The doorways to dimension are open to you in such a way that healing and these senses of a divine intelligence around you become available in a way that they weren't before. And an example of that is retrocausality. So Dr. Joe talks about remember your future, things like this. And so there is in space, in your in a state of pure consciousness, the linear timeline kind of falls away and you're held and suspended in this vibratory abyss. That small identity, the identity of the default mode network, the personhood, the personality, appears almost as though it's a movie script. That's in Buddhism, detached. It's a very detached feeling. And so that doesn't mean it goes away, or it's like this benevolent, loving adoration, this kindness, almost like you would look at a child or something like this. This vibratory abyss is looking upon that personhood that you are, that you believe yourself to be, and it's just, it has nothing but love for it because it's so adorable. Anyhow, that doorway to dimension, once you hit that vibratory abyss and have experienced it enough times, there is time dilation. Time slows down. The experience of time changes, and there's retro-causality, so that meaning that future events can influence events in the present. So your present body and mind is being informed by a future self, and so that if this present body and mind, if that antenna can become attuned to this fathomless abyss, if it can become attuned to it and it becomes familiar with it, then from that position in this body here, we can attune to a future perceived self. And then we can receive the information, we can receive the mind, the neurology can be informed by this future self. And that future self, the connection of energy between that future self, the connection of energy between these timelines as experienced through this body, is going to create negative entropy. It's going to create organization within the body, so that connecting to that future self, and it's not an intellectual process. It's not informing you through English. It's informing you through your sensitivity, and that trust, that surrender. And that's why that's important, because if the mind becomes active, if the default mode network kicks on and begins to inform your neurology, then you're being informed from the past. See, that's the memory, okay? Default mode network only knows the memory of this body and mind. It only knows how to inform the body about things that have happened in the past. So a tragic event happens, and it's very hard to overcome that because if you're using default mode network, if you're using the voice in your head to try to overcome it, because that voice is only informed by the body that is in the past. So as the doorways to dimension open to you, and if you can tune into that future perceived self, and you understand that this is actually the doorway of dimension, will allow you to sense, feel, and understand that you're being informed by this future self. And as that future self informs you, the information is organizing to your neurology, and it doesn't need to inform you through English. It informs you through this intangible, at times very intangible energy, sometimes tangible, sometimes you can feel it come in. But the whole idea is that this retro-causality, that there is something, a future perceived self, that if you connect in this dimension here, now, across these multiple timelines, then this neurology, the body as an antenna, can begin to attune to it. So that's just one of the reasons why stimulating the pineal gland would be important, because now your body, rather than being informed from the past as your body as default mode network and being informed from default mode network, now it's being informed and conditioned to a version of yourself in the future that is held in pure health, or a different level of awareness. And so if we can tune into that, then that healing becomes possible now. And so that is why the pineal gland, just one of the reasons why tuning into the pineal gland and trying to get that secretion to move globally and to create one of these crystallized moments for you. That's just one of the reasons why, amongst many others. So anyway, I hope this helps, and I hope that someone out there picks up what I'm putting down, as it might seem kind of esoteric, but it's as obvious as the phone that I am talking into. So, retrocausality, Om.